Hey, what's up everybody? John Kirkpatrick here, going to give you a lesson on the rest of the buttons. So I know I said in my last video I was probably going to go into some fills and some other songs and talk about more beats and whatnot. But before we get to that, I figured it'd probably be a good idea to make sure that we're familiar with the rest of the buttons in the program. So yeah, going to go ahead and create another percussion track. Going to go ahead and make that basic beat again. Oops. There we go. Alright, so I'm basically just going to be talking about that window there on the left, the tools window. So as you can see here, this is our notation window. So you've got from whole notes to 64th notes, you've got your dotted notes, you've got your rest. By the way, hotkey for that is just R, save you a lot of time on that. And you've got this bracket right here for triplets, but also realize that you can do more than just triplets. So let's say we were going to do a triplet beat. Let's actually just go ahead and write that out real quick. Let's see here. So go ahead and make these guys triplets. Add in that guy. Yeah. So here we go. Cool. Nice basic triplet beat right there. But what I think a lot of people also don't realize is you can do more than just triplets. If you click up here and you go to note, you go to duration, you can do 3s, 5s, 6, 7, 9, 10, all the way up to 13, which is pretty tricky. You're not really going to see many 5s or 7s, or much beyond that. But if you ever do want to do it, or you're feeling crazy, the option is there. So definitely take a look into that. And also notice if I click on the 5 here, it'll change that 3. So if I need to write more 5s, I can just click it on and off right there, which is really convenient. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and set those guys back to triplets. Alright, moving on, we've got the link note. This doesn't really apply for drumming, so we're going to kind of skip over that. Octave stuff, yeah, not really drumming. Again, most of the other stuff, not really concerning drumming, so we'll move on. Dynamics, this being your softest, this being your loudest, it automatically starts to F at forte, so if you need to move around with dynamics, you've got your little panel right there. You do have to go in and go to each individual note to change the dynamic of that note. I do believe you can highlight whole things like this and make it all piano. Yeah, so that'll work. But if you need to just do this note and not that note, you can't really just highlight that and that guy because it'll highlight the whole thing. So it can be kind of a pain. Most of the time you're just going to leave everything forte. I guess I shouldn't say that. It really depends on what kind of music you're writing. But yeah, anyways, moving on. We've got this stuff down here. So right here, you can put in some text. So if I want to say, what's up, it'll go ahead and put that right where I put the text where I clicked on it. I believe the hotkey for that is just T, yeah. So cool, there's that option, and then there's this guy, which is the mix table. The mix table has some really powerful stuff in it, so it's important that we talk about this a little bit. So from right here, our tempo is 120, it shows you right there. If I create a quote-unquote mix table right here, there's a lot of different things we can do. In the drum world, there's not much we can do as far as switching instruments go. It'll just show you a bunch of different drum kits, which I believe are all the same. I've yet to go through that. But if you're in guitar and you need that track to switch to a key part or a harp part or whatever you want, you can just click on that and switch it, and it'll switch instantaneously, which is really nice. Actually, it reduces the amount of tracks that you might need. But the other things you can do instantaneously are volume, pan, chorus, reverb, phaser, tremolo, tempo. I don't believe tremolo is going to matter too much for us. But the biggest ones that you'll actually end up using might be the volume and the tempo. So in this case, let's say we take the volume and we bring it way up, and then we're also going to do a tempo change. Let's go to 150. So as you can see, right, when it hit that spot, it just took off. Some other cool options with that, though, is you can actually increase the tempo over time. So this is for the 4/4 bar. Let's do it over 4 beats, and let's see how that sounds. And you'll notice the volume was actually instantaneous, but the tempo was sped up. And yeah, you can actually do volume swells as well. So let's hear that one sound. So, a couple cool options right there. and the rest of it applies for pan, chorus, reverb. Again, you're not going to use too much of the chorus reverb stuff. Maybe a pan, but even that's, here and there maybe, but not used all too often. Let's see what else we got. Most of the effects are actually for guitar, so there's not a whole lot to talk about there, but there are some definite important things we need to touch on, which first and foremost might be ghost notes right there. So this guy will put your snare drum or whatever drum you want in parentheses, and it'll make it what's called a ghost note, which just means it's going to reduce the dynamic of it, and it'll get like that soft tap on the snare in there if you need it. So as you just heard right there, go ahead and put it in 2. And it's cool because it gives it that da-da, like soft loud kind of feel, and you can experiment a lot with that. You can get some really cool grooves out of this thing. And again, it makes a really, really nice practice tool when you're trying to work on ghost notes and whatnot, because when you're hearing the dynamics back and you're trying to play along with it, you feel a little bit more inclined to go with it rather than just looking at a piece of paper and trying to feel out the soft and loud yourself. Some other options we have are, I think, yeah, this would be a grace note. So you can actually, for like drags and other stuff like that, you can put stuff before the beat, on the beat, and you can use it a lot basically for flams. Another way you can do a flam is to use the downstroke, upstroke, which is kind of a weird way of going about it. But if you go ahead and put that in there, you can get it's a little hard to hear. You'll have to experiment a little bit with it yourself. But you can definitely get more of a flam-esque like kind of beat with that. You've also got, your normal accents, light accent, heavy accent, the rest of the stuff. You've got staccato notes. You might be able to use that. Not really sure. Maybe for like a cymbal or something, I guess. But other than that, it's probably not going to be too useful. Palm muting, again, most of the other stuff's going to be guitar stuff, wah pedal, sliding, fade in, fade out, etc., etc. We also have transposition, but again, that's more for the theory aspect of things as far as melodic stuff goes. And then we have these markers. The markers are actually pretty cool too. So say you're working on a song and this is your first beat right here, and this is your second beat or chorus, if you will. Well, you can go ahead and just throw a marker right there and say, hey, look, this is the chorus. And bam, right there, down here, and right there, it'll show you that once we get to measure 2, there's a change. It goes to the chorus. It's going to speed up and the volume's going to go up too. Just because that's what's there. Anyways, so that's a pretty decent overview of the tools window. I left out the stuff up here, though, for the bar. So basically, up here, you've got your key signature, time signature, triplet feel. You can edit this to force a break line so that this is like the only measure up top, or you can make sure that it doesn't be the only bar up top by clicking that, by locking that, prevent the break line, or you can just turn it off and let it do what it wants to do. But yeah, so time signature button, it's pretty awesome. You can go ahead and 1 to 32 on top. And then it gives you, whole note, half note, quarter note, 8th note, 16th note, 32nd note on bottom for all your different time signatures. The unfortunate thing about this program is it always highlights until the end. So if you're working on a song that has multiple time signatures, keep in mind you have to unclick that every time. Otherwise, if you're at the beginning of your song and you change the time signature and it's until the end, the entire song gets converted to that time signature. Now, I have a feeling this is due because most songs are in 4/4, so it's not really applicable to be changing time signatures all over the place. However, there are some songs that do it, and because of that feature, it can be somewhat frustrating. But anyways, moving on. The triplet feel, you can get an 8th triplet feel or a 16th triplet feel. You can play around with those. It really just depends on what you're going for. And then, yeah, of course, we have the repeat signs, which is another great practice tool, because if you want to practice this beat on and on and on, I could just loop that pretty much forever, 100 times, and then it gives you a cool, like, hey, I just played that 100 times once it finally finishes. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. You've got codas, and let's see, what's this guy? Oh, alternate ending. So you've got just about everything that you can do on normal music notation stuff, which makes this program really awesome if you ever really needed to print out sheet music or anything like that as well. But yeah, that pretty much covers it for most of the buttons. In later videos when I'm covering crazier stuff. I'm sure if I get into anything that's, a little crazy, I'll be explaining how to get to that button, what that button's all about, etc., etc. But I don't think there's anything else in here that I haven't really covered too much. So yeah, stay tuned for next episode. It should be more geared towards the fills and songs.